Alright, so I've been trying to kind of just decide where I'm going, heading in life, and I guess I've been doing that for like the past 7 years, right? Or my whole life. Um, and it's like I don't know if I'm waiting for just that intense feeling that I have kind of felt throughout my life, or if I don't know what I'm waiting for. But it just never, like, every time I try and do something, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel, but it's like, what I'm considering right, what does that mean? Because I think that sometimes, we could say, like, it doesn't feel right. And it's like, well, maybe it was, like, when I'm saying right, I think that because I have had an unhealthy experience with like dopamine and intense feeling throughout my life, I have kind of distorted how it does feel to feel connected, to truly feel connected to something. And so, as I've gone through this journey of asking myself who I am outside of my trauma and anxiety and addiction to intensity, you know, I go back and forth with feeling like the person I've become has become an outcome of what I felt like I needed to be. And again, that strong connection to intensity out of addiction. Because like even with anxiety, like sitting here and having negative thoughts, that's still an intense experience, and that is still like on a nervous system level creating very unnatural spikes of chemicals throughout your body. And so like that, or smoking, or drinking, or sex, food, anger, all of those very intense feelings that I think that I had created a relationship with. And so like when I'm not in those states of feeling a lot of dopamine or a lot of intensity, there's a part of me that correlates that to darkness and to danger and boringness and unsureness, because I don't know who I am outside of that, outside of constantly feeling fear, outside of having a substance make me feel strong, or make me feel these moments of whatever intensity. And so, like, going back to where I'm at right now, where I am allowing myself to be, and I'm allowing myself to just whenever those answered those answers come through of like, what do I need to pay more attention to, as in like, what do I want to do next in my career that's going to be fulfilling in all of those aspects. I battle though with like, okay, if something feels good, like whether I'm creating or I'm singing or I'm talking about things that I find important, if those things feel good, how do I correlate something being my purpose? And I think it's like also when you think about something being your purpose, and then it's like, but how do you know when? And but if you're someone that kind of pairs a feeling with what you think it feels to be like in your purpose, again, and I think a little bit of me is like something feeling intense and it feeling right in that way, but is that my purpose? Or is it just me again clinging to things that give me that feeling? And then it also goes into like, well, how is like, because some people believe that if it's in a healthy way, if you are creating and it has that intense feeling, what is the actual harm in that? And then some argue that, yeah, you just, some argue that that part of you that you have learned to kind of attach yourself to, or some argue that you wouldn't even become that person if it just wasn't who you truly were. And so that's just where I'm at right now, where I really am. I just feel like a corpse. And that's what I said earlier. I feel like a corpse that is drained. And a lot of that draining has come from wanting to know who I am and what I've gone through, and wanting to feel and get to the root of who I am. And I've been doing that for the past 7 years. And now I feel like, because I value and I do believe that I have to I have to strip myself from all those things that have clouded my judgment in my soul and all of that. Like, I have to be that in order to find that real answer. And then maybe it will feel intense. Maybe it will feel like how I think it does when you find what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Or maybe it won't. And maybe life doesn't feel that strong on how it's felt to me. Like, maybe those emotions and those feelings have been an outcome of being in altered states most of my life, and not only just with like substances of like alcohol and sex and food and overindulging and all that, but also just intensity of like anxiety, of fear. It's like, who am I outside of that fear? Who am I when I just feel comfortable being and saying whatever comes up naturally? And so that's where I'm at, because it's so strange though, because I don't know if it's just, again, me wanting it to be right, or me wanting it to be what it is my journey. But it's like, when I'm creating, I still feel I feel good. It does feel igniting. It does feel fun. When I'm singing, I also feel that. But then it's strange, because like, I don't have that entire, like, when I'm seeing other things of people doing some, I don't feel that feeling. I don't feel like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, like I feel like I used to. I don't feel, and that can be, the reason for that can be, because we are in a time right now where nothing new is happening, because everyone is still romanticizing what has happened before us. And when we think that we have nothing to offer now, and we're afraid to feel what comes up naturally without a social lens, without that shame of it not being good enough, or it sounding stupid, or it looking ugly, or it's being whatever. I want to live so bad. I really do. But it's like I have no energy to do anything that like doesn't feel right or doesn't feel natural, which is hard because it's like as you're learning things, it's like sometimes it's not going to feel like that. It's not going to feel like the right thing, even if it is. And so I'm just, because I think that a part of it, especially if you've never really believed in yourself and you've never really put yourself out there, that's obviously not going to feel good in the sense of like I think that two things happen. Like it feels good because you're pushing yourself out of that fear, and especially if it is something that you're meant to be doing, like you do feel that somewhere in your body. But there's also still like that fear and yeah, and that like anxiety that pushes you away, that makes it not feel like I think how some of us want good things to feel, which are like very like okay, clear, like very clear that this is a good thing, instead of all the emotions that can come up when one is doing something that is good for them. And so you guys see how I have all of this information that I have gathered of my like I've gathered when analyzing myself, analyzing those around me, analyzing history, and yeah. And so then I think it can make you go crazy, right? It can make you feel like you are just all over, because in a sense you are. In a sense you are. You are, because you are trying to understand so much. And there was a time where humans just did, right? And they figured it out as they went on. And it was still things that we carry with us today, But I think that, but I still do think that being aware is important, and to like know yourself as much as you can is important. But that's another thing that I am kind of trying to master, or if not, just like have it be in my life of like balancing those two things, balancing when to ask yourself a question and when to just let it be, and to allow that answer to come to you, or if it ever does. But then it's this fear of like that happening and then making the wrong decision because you didn't analyze, or a fear that you overanalyze it too much and you ruin where it was going to take you because of the hyper analyzing. And so I'm just all over, like I am just, which is strange because so I feel like I'm in a place right now to where I am the most freest I've ever been mentally. I am so confrontational with what I think and what I see and how I feel. And I feel strong in ways, but then I also still feel very weak. And I still feel very unsure. And I still feel very lost and confused. And I know that people say, take your time, and that's what this year has been about. It's like surrendering and taking my time. And that's something that I still want to take with me. And like, I don't know, like if you guys have seen me on like my Instagram or my TikTok, I deleted TikTok and then made a new one. Um, and like on my Instagram, I haven't really posted much because I'm in that limbo of like, is this even what I want to do? But then I'll feel very like inclined to do something, so that's when I'll post, right? And then I'll go back to like just that feeling of just, and not even necessarily, I feel like where I'm at now is not even necessarily like a fear of like, oh, is this what you're supposed to be doing? But it is like just being in that energy of allowing myself to just do what feels right in that moment, and hoping that one day, like as the days goes by, I'll continue to do what feels right, and then I'll just fall into that purpose, you know. So sometimes I'm like, you know, doing visuals. Sometimes I'm singing. Sometimes I'm like, you know, I'm thinking like, well, should I start? You know, should I just talk about things that I've cherished and valued for so long? And so it's just, and it's like, why not do all of them, right? This is true. But I think my thing is, and I'll be real, is that like I do have that mindset of what's going to take me out of this structure as much as possible. What's going to make it to where I don't have to clock into a 9 to 5 that doesn't care about me. Like, you know, what's going to be that thing that feels actually fulfilling, that's going to be able to take care of my family, that's going to make sure that I don't go without when it comes to food, shelter, and like medical insurance and things like this, you know, like that's where my brain is at. And so it's, you know, it sounds good, and I think that it is important to allow yourself time to figure it out. But I think some of us are like, we be forgetting though the world that we live in, and I don't want to be a person that just succumbs to, and I don't know, maybe it's just how I see it, but I don't want to just spend so much time of just like wasting time, and then, you know, my mom doesn't get to live the life that she deserves, you know, and she leaves this place, this planet, without tasting the life that she always deserved. I don't want to miss out on the world that is around me. And again, we can say like it's as easy as just going and, you know, being around the people, you know, just going outside your door, and that's true, But there's so much more that I do feel like is our birthright and has been taken away from us. And is that me being greedy? Is that me not being grateful for the life that I have? These are good questions. As I'm even talking about these things, like I can see how like it really can mess you up when you are someone who asks yourself questions. But there is a positive side that not only I have experienced, like asking myself questions have gotten me out of a lot of darkness, has literally morphed and healed my body, like in real time. Asking myself questions have just done so much for me, which I can make a whole nother video on. And so I'll never demonize that, because I know in real time the positive effect that it has had on me. But I also can say that there has been a negative effect to that. And so it's trying to become like a well-balanced person that understands the negative and the positive effects of analyzing everything. Again, I think that there is, like, it has, we think that overanalyzing doesn't have to happen, because we believe that everything isn't super deep, but we literally live in a social structure, all of us, regardless of what country you're in, that places so much value in those things. Like, the social structure that we're in, the intent was to do those very small things of conditioning that will have a huge impact when it comes to being able to control people. And so it is having to unlearn the smallest things sometimes that trickle, that then, like, trickle down into your freedom. That then trickle down to, like, being unshackled from the social structure. And so we must ask ourselves questions. We must. But I think, like, again, where I'm at, where someone who has asked questions for the past, really since I was really young, but done it in a way that I think has been more helpful in the past 7 years. It has allowed me to really become the person that I am today, that I am really thankful for. But I think that now it's like and I made a video about this before at the beginning of the year, which is so funny. Like, the beginning of the year, I had made a video and I was talking about how, like, I have done all the analyzing and now I just want to be. And throughout this year, I have done that, but it has been very hard. And I still have had all of those thoughts of what I'm saying right now on this video. And it's like, but I still don't feel like I know. Even though throughout this year, I still don't feel like, by just living and being and trying. I think that I've found I have learned more about myself by doing that, absolutely. I have learned a lot about my personality and how I see myself and how I see other people by just being in a state that isn't trying to find the answers. Because I learned that, not being in that energy of forcing, whether that is how I look about, being desirable to other people, if I look smart enough, if I like all of these things, like that force has been like a theme that has been a part of how I've seen myself value, my self-worth. Like, that has played a part in it. Again, forcing things to be right, forcing things to work, because hoping it's going to take me to money and to take me to be able to take care of my mom and all of these things. That has all played a part, and like, I've been able to see that so much this year by just being. And so this isn't me having the answers in this video, it's me just wanting to say it out loud. I mean, I talk to myself out loud all the time, but I just have this, these are one of those things that I've been going, like, my ups and downs with, of like, do I want to talk about my experience? Because it seems like so many people are talking about the same things, but like, in their own way, or the same exact things, right? And it's like, it feels like, again, we are seeing a little bit of growth because of that vulnerability that people have. But I'm still seeing, like, it seems like so much people are still holding on to how we've done things. People still not wanting to really have freedom, even though they say they do. And so then it makes me not want to sit on here and talk about stuff because I feel like, am I wasting my time? Are people just gonna scroll past it because they think I'm some guy who like thinks that he's right, or who's trying to sound deep or something. And because I've sit up here and I've tried to make videos like this all the time, and I've talked about things that I talk about all the time by myself, and then I delete them because I'm like, well, what's the point? But I'll leave this on a positive note by saying that there are glimpses of hope that I do have. There are glimpses of feeling like I'm getting closer to something. Even if I have no idea. And even though that feeling might not be as prominent and constant as I would like it to be, there are those moments that I have, where it's just like, continue to just take everything that you've learned and continue to stay in that present moment and continue to wait for it to feel right, or wait for those answers, while also still remembering the importance of taking initiative to learn the answers and to ask questions and to take action. So it's like all of that is happening. And so I just feel like, again, a corpse or a thing that has destructed itself from so much, that has peeled back so much, and now it's just like I'm feeling and I'm being this thing that I either have never been or I was before the age of 8, before all of the shame and social structures and addictions and insecurities and all of that and fear took place. I don't know, but yeah, I just feel that way. I feel that way, and so there's a lot of unsureness, which I literally hate. But two things that keep me going is that I have seen my idea of progress mentally, physically. Again, maybe not have been as intense or very, but it has happened. And so those moments have also played a part of me feeling those moments of like, you'll be fine and you'll get there. And you'll feel that thing, or I don't know. There's many things that are exciting me though about next year, or this year. If you're someone who cares about like time and stuff, but I think it can be a positive, thing. Anyways, I was about to go on another tangent, but what I'll say is that I do feel good about what's to come. I feel unsure and I feel afraid. And I feel kind of angry and upset sometimes, that this has been, that certain things have happened to me throughout my life. And sometimes I feel that like anger, that why did this have to be my journey? Why did I have to be the one to ask all these questions? And why does it feel like sometimes I am, like, negative things are happening to me when I just don't feel like I can remember my life and what has happened to me and how people have treated me for so many reasons, and just don't feel like I deserve that. But the positive side of me understands that sometimes, things happened. Things happen, and things, I think it's like not the positive side to me, it's the part of me that has had experience, that remembers that it didn't always feel like good things were happening to you until they did. And so that's something that I remind myself as well. Um, 2025, I think is going to be a good year just because I am surrendering to it. And I also do feel these spurts of strength that I know that regardless of what my purpose is and where I land, I will make sure that it is the best version of that. And so, what is there to really be negative about or to have fear about?